What if you've been solving the wrong problem your entire adult life? I spent decades trying to earn enough money to retire. Then life happened divorce, medical bills, layoffs. Every setback pushed that dream further away. I remember sitting at the dining room table with a retirement calculator open on my laptop. Every scenario ended the same way. I wasn't going to have enough. That $1 million retirement everyone talks about, it just kept moving further and further away. That was the night I stopped asking how to make more money and started asking a completely different question. How do I build a life where what I already have is enough? That one question completely changed the course of our lives. People sometimes ask me how we live the way we do after I lost my income to a layoff. And it's kind of awkward answering that question because I know my answer doesn't meet their expectations of what a good life is. But I would argue that they've never really pondered what makes a life good. But you know what? I know what it feels like to be trapped under debt and bills, a car payment and mortgage, always tired, always stressed, always afraid that at some point there just won't be enough. And I know that's not the life that I want to live. For decades, I did what I thought I was supposed to. I got married, I had kids, I went to college, I got a full time job. That was exhausting. I went back to school to get my master's degree. I got a different job. That was even more stressful, and everybody's exhausting just in kind of different ways. But at least I made more money, right? The stress, the sleepless nights, the hours, the bills, the feeling like I was never going to be able to save enough to ever retire. $1 million in savings is what they say you need. There was a time when that was my goal and I was going to get there. But then life kept happening, a divorce that decimated the accounts, a child who was very, very ill for years with some really expensive medical bills. Getting derailed repeatedly as my 50s crept closer and closer, and that $1 million goal just got further and further away. Life just never goes the way we planned, does it? It was all slowly wearing me down. So at some point, I stopped asking, what could I do to make more money so that I can get to that magical retirement million? And I began to think completely differently. I flipped the question and I stopped asking myself how to make more money to have enough to retire someday. Instead, I asked, can I live so that what I already have will be enough? I looked at this life that I was living that brought me the stress and the anxiety, and I got specific about the life I was done living and built everything backward from that line in the sand. And step one was to get out of debt. No more cars with monthly payments, no more toys financed on credit. We sold what we could, we paid off the cars, and we vowed never to take out a loan again. We sold the RV and the motorcycle, and we even sold the house. Between selling off what we didn't need and saving up cash, we knocked out about 125,000 in various debts. And I'll tell you something, you sure sleep better at night when you don't owe anything to anyone. And that is a lesson most people never learn. Selling the RV and the motorcycle, it wasn't hard for me at all, honestly. It actually felt like a relief, not a sacrifice. We weren't losing anything we needed. We were finally getting rid of the weight that we'd been carrying. And that's something you don't really expect when you picture selling your stuff to get out of debt. Sometimes it doesn't even hurt. Sometimes it just is like taking out the trash. And don't you dare tell Jeff that I compared his Harley to trash, okay? All right, step two was to get rid of every recurring charge that we didn't absolutely love. If it didn't add real value and tangible value, it was gone. Subscriptions we hardly used, canceled. Amazon Prime, out the window. Netflix, gone. Even the pet insurance got axed. We quit stopping at convenience stores for drinks and snacks, and eating out became a real treat when we reserved it for only special occasions. And honestly, that made eating out feel like an experience, an event, rather than just another meal. Sure seems that doing something enjoyable too often can really make it a lot less enjoyable. And as each cut expense was layered atop the last, the amount of money we needed to survive got smaller and smaller and smaller. And that was exactly the end goal, to get that monthly baseline as low as possible. At some point, I realized that even without debt, we were still vulnerable. We had sold our house and moved across the country, but we were renting, and rent could increase at any time, and there was not a dang thing that we could do about it. So we determined that we needed to secure a mortgage-free and rent-free home. This was a monumental task, but it was the only way to get our monthly baseline cost to where we would be really comfortable. So my husband, Jeff, decided that he was going to build us a home. And I don't mean he was going to go hire a contractor to build a house. He decided that he was going to design, plan, and construct a house with his own brain and with his own hands. Even though he'd never done anything like that before, he decided he was just going to figure it out. And this was not easy by any stretch of the imagination. This was right in the middle of COVID, and between the shortages and the price spikes, nothing about that year went the way it was supposed to. But the worst day of the build was the day that Jeff fell. He fell through the floor joist, catching the joist on his ribs and hitting his head on the way down into the crawl space below. He could barely move. He could not even call out for help, and I was at work. Fortunately, our dog Harley woke our son who was sleeping in the trailer on the property, and he was able to get help. Jeff was completely out of commission for probably a couple of weeks. And even after that, he was in so much pain for so long that he could barely function at all. But he kept building because there was nobody else to do it. It was well over a year before he was able to sleep through the night without pain. My job through all of this was to work as much as possible so that, combined with the equity we had from the sold house, we could cash flow the land purchase and the entire build. And that is exactly what happened. And it took a year from start to certificate of occupancy, which, looking back, seems lightning fast for one man to build a 600 square foot house with his own hands. But Jeff did it. Today, we have a home that was built with our own hands. I did help when I could, that nobody except the government can take away. Property taxes, right? Anyway, once we were securely without debt and nobody could take away our home, we started to work on the bills that were left. Some you just can't avoid. We still pay for insurance, right? But we are working toward making the rest of the unavoidable expenses actually avoidable. We have a well, so our water is practically free. The well pump does use a little bit of electricity, though. We have septic instead of sewer, so no monthly bill there, just a pump out every few years. We take our trash to the local transfer station for about a quarter the cost of local trash service. And we heat with wood in the winter cut from our own land, which I have actually figured out saves us around $100 a month during those cold, dark days. And that wood fire doesn't merely heat the house, it warms you through to the soul and comforts in a way that no HVAC system can replicate. There's nothing so calming as sitting near the fire and watching flames while sipping a hot drink. The whole world outside just melts away. We would love to put in solar too, but not enough to go into debt for it. And all of that is shrinking the monthly baseline number. We'll never get it to zero. That's pretty much impossible in this culture, but we'll get it as close as we can. And if you're watching this and you're thinking, I could never do that, then drop me a comment below and tell me where you can start to get your monthly costs lower. I love reading your stories too. One thing that I have learned over the years is that most of what we think we only want because we're told we should. We're told what to want by advertisers, television programs. I'm showing my age there, aren't I? Online influencers, our family, our neighbors. Keeping up with the Joneses, anyone? Other people's expectations, they aren't any more real. They are based on that same marketing, the same propaganda, if you will, telling us all that we need to buy more, to buy the newest, the latest, the trendy. But none of that really comes from us and what we truly want. I find myself just so very fatigued by the nonstop marketing. Are you feeling that too? Have you ever taken the time to think about what's really important to you? Do you really care what your coworker or your sister thinks about the car you drive or the phone you carry? Really? Or are you trading your time or your life for things that someone else convinced you that you want? Here's something that a lot of people don't really think about. When you're paying a mortgage, a car payment, and a bunch of stuff on credit, you think you own those things, but the truth is, you don't own any of it until it's paid off. Until then, it owns you, your hours, your choices, a piece of your life. I get that selling your stuff and building your own house are extreme measures. I know that most people aren't going to go do the things that we did to get our expenses this low. Heck, even I wouldn't be willing to build a house myself. That would not have happened without my husband doing it. But I bet there are a lot of smaller things that you could do today, even that would push you in that direction of needing less. So that when a layoff hits or something happens that interrupts your income, that you're still okay. We all know that I'm not the only one that's getting laid off these days. It's going around. And if your income is cut off, the bank doesn't care why you can't pay. They just want their money. I never expected to retire at 54. My employer made that decision, and that's the reality. And though it was difficult to come to terms with that initially, over time, I've actually come to be grateful for that layoff. We really do have enough. And I've found that I would rather have the time than have the extra money. Years ago, I stopped asking how much more I could earn and I started asking instead, how small could I make my needs? It turned out that question gave me something far more valuable than money. It gave me freedom over my time. If any part of this is resonating with you, tell me about it in the comments. And be sure to hit subscribe so you don't miss the next one. Money always goes away, one way or another. Life doesn't have to be expensive, and it doesn't have to impress the neighbors in order to be a life worth living.